My next guest is award-winning food, lifestyle, and travel photographer Liza Gershman, and her latest cookbook is Cuban Flavor, exploring the island's unique places, people, and cuisine. Welcome to the show. First, I have to tell you, this book looks gorgeous. I've been flipping through it. The recipes look great. You are a professional photographer.
Yes.
How did you go from photographer in Cuba to cookbook?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be on your show. And I've been doing both photography and writing my whole life. My mom says that I started picking up cameras when I was probably about 5 years old. And before I could actually write myself, I would say, "Mommy, write me." And I would follow her around the house telling her these elaborate tales that I would ask her to write down. So it was always a natural progression for me to do both. And Cuba became a passion for me in 2003 when I first was able to go. So it all came together. This is my 12th cookbook, and I've just fallen in love with the process of writing books because you get to do some photography, some writing, a lot of research, and you get to go eat.
That sounds perfect to me. Let's talk about Cuba a little bit, though. Why did you fall in love with Cuba?
So I've always been a traveler. I've been blessed in my life to be able to go to 51 countries, and Cuba is one of those places that was sort of forbidden or was a secret, hidden culture, right, that you just read about. And I'm always intrigued by that. So if you say to me, it's just opened up and nobody's going there, I say, sign me up. How do I get to go? You know. So when I went to Cuba, I went with Global Exchange here in San Francisco for the first time. And I had just under 2 weeks, and it just felt like me. It felt like home when I got there. It was vibrant. There was music and dancing. People were very kind despite the circumstances that they were living in, and I loved it.
And what about the cuisine? Because from your cookbook, it looks absolutely delicious. I mean, I've had Cuban food many times, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Cuban food has changed dramatically over the last 15 years, and much of the spice that we now get to enjoy in Cuban cuisine has come from outside influences of other cultures.
I mean, look at this. These pictures, beautiful.
Thank you so much. So yeah, the food has changed, and it's really becoming on par with some other international cuisine. Chefs and restaurants are taking their skills to the next level, and restaurants are opening up all around the country that are the same kind of restaurant level that you or experience you might find here or in Europe. It's really remarkable. So
yeah, there's a different kind of restaurant now, right? I think you call it
Paladars.
Paladars.
So you used to, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, you would go into someone's home and you would have a meal that was maybe cooked by the grandmother or the mother, and you'd sit at a small table and in their kitchen or their living room. Well, now, since 2010, people have been able to open their own restaurants, which is very exciting for them, and a lot of tourist dollars flood in for any Cuban involved in tourism. And so the restaurants are like what you might find in Hayes Valley. You know, they're really some restaurants that are quite high end, and they're wonderful because they're employing so many people and using so many talented innovations.
Yeah, and sharing of their food and art. So in your book, you talk about the special period. What is that?
Oh, the special period was a really big challenge in Cuba. It was the time when USSR pulled out of the funding, and so Cubans really struggled during the special period, and they were eating really minimal amounts to survive. You were fortunate if you had a piece of bread with sugar on it, or maybe you were having just a piece of cheese. It was very difficult to find protein. So that was, for Cubans, the most dire portion in history. And thankfully, we're out of that time,
yes.
And there's definitely a resurgence of tourism and international aid. So Cubans are certainly seeing some benefits, some monetary benefits from other cultures right now, and I hope that that continues, and I hope that we normalize relations as soon as possible and get back to helping.
What I think is great about your time spent in Cuba is that you speak a little Spanish, un poquito, you said. Un poquito, sí. But you don't, I mean, food is universal.
Everyone eats food, exactly. And I, over the years, have spent so much time there. Now I have such a strong friend group, and I know artists, I know musicians, I know economists, I know philosophers, and we all come together and have meals together, and that's something that I think is so special about Cuba. They're very much a community-based society, and even more so than I find here at home. Everyone is eating a meal together at a table, you're having a discussion with your friends and your family, and you're really talking. You're not on your cell phone, you're not texting, because that's something they just don't have an opportunity to have. But the community is so strong, and I find that when I'm in Cuba, I'm so empowered. And
well, thank you so much for sharing all of the Cuban cuisine with us in this book. It's absolutely beautiful. And don't forget, the book is Cuban Flavor by Liza Gershman. You can check out her website, cubanflavorbook.com. When we come back, we'll show you how to get into the habit of eating foods that will make you feel healthy and energized in just a moment.